Hello there. So, do you also have one of the older Kindles? You know, something maybe like this, right? Got the buttons on the side, you got the keyboard. Not all the old ones had this, but this is an example of one of the older ones. Well, if you have an older Kindle device, as of August 17th, 2022, you may lose the ability to browse or purchase books directly from your device. So, let's talk about what's going on, what it means, and what your options are. Let's get this party started, shall we? Hi there. So, I got to admit, I did not expect to be talking about the Kindle devices so quickly after the last one that we did, but here we are. So the thing is, if you have an older Kindle device, they're phrasing it that you may lose the ability to browse for books in the e-store, in the ebook store, or purchase them directly from your device. So let's see if I can get mine powered up here long enough to show you. Of course, that I didn't plan ahead well, and I did not actually. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. It's this option here at the top that says, let me go like that, shop in Kindle store. Yeah, that one. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so let me show you the email that started this. Now, this evidently is the second email that went out. I never got the first one. And while we're walking through this email, we're just gonna have a little chat about some of the things that makes me not happy with them about this freaking email. So shall we? Let me get this all up here. Okay. Sorry, I did an event for somebody last week, and I have not quite got my setup back again. And I've got another event tomorrow, so it's not going to happen tonight. Anyway, let's focus on the issue at hand, shall we? So here is the lovely email. And this is the first thing that made me unhappy. Okay, this title was designed for me not to open it, right? Now, I get a lot of emails about my Kindle devices, and I open a lot of them, but no, not every single one. There is nothing about this subject line that would have ever made me open it if I didn't find out about this issue other ways. So that's the first part. And then when you start to go through this, they do shift from the other propaganda that I'm seeing about this is saying you may not be able to. This one actually says you will no longer be able to. So at least they're being a little bit more truthful. So this is focused on devices that are 10 years old or more. So that's basically the version 1 or version 2 are not listed in this, and that seems to be because they've already lost their access because they were 2G and 3G driven. So they've already lost their access. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Yes. Hello. So, oh, is this going to work now too? Okay. So, hello, Floyd. I hope all is well in Colorado. And yes, we are going to get a little bit ranty about this email because this is making me unhappy. So we'll keep going. So it only affects certain devices introduced 10 years ago. So the one that I was showing you, this one here. This was 11 years ago that I bought this. Don't really need to have it on, I don't think. So it's the older devices, and they do list out the ones that have the issue. But here's the next thing that's made me unhappy with their approach to this. Okay, so they're saying that as of August 17th, 2022, these devices are not going to be able to browse the e-store or buy content directly from the e-store through the device. We'll talk about your options in a minute. However, so we're saying August 17th. So they're offering us a deal. Whether or not this is a good deal is up to you. So they're offering us a discount code that'll take 30% off of a new Kindle. Now, what's not clear here is you're also supposed to be able to get a discount if you send back your old Kindle. It doesn't mention that in here, so I would check that before I made any big jumps if you're going to do this. So 30% off a new Kindle and a $40 ebook credit. However, this is only valid until August 13th. Now, why am I being pissy about this? I'm being pissy about this because I pay a lot of attention to this kind of thing, and I missed this until about a week ago. So you can bet that there are people that on August 13th or August 14th are going to find out for the first time that they've lost access, and this deal will no longer be available to them. At the bare minimum, this deal should be available for at least a solid week, preferably longer, after people start firing up their devices and realizing that they can't shop on the store. Because here's the thing, just because they fire it up doesn't mean they're even going to notice that the e-store access is gone until they go to get another book, right? Or whatever content they're reading. So this, to me, slimy. And I expect better from people like Amazon that have more money than they should. So yeah, so there's that. And then they get into, what it means. So you won't be able to browse for, buy, or borrow books directly from the devices. Now we are going to get into in a minute here, what the details are, but those are just some of the things. I think, is that basically it? Well, okay, we'll get into some other stuff here in a second. But that's basically where we're at. Now, the devices that, and actually, I think it's in this email, so let's go back to that for a second. So they do list out the devices. Now, this is not, okay, as somebody who designs user interfaces and the importance of communicating things well and easily for people. So they're listing out the devices, but they're doing it in a way that makes it very hard for the brain to process and identify. This should have been a bullet list. That would have made it easier for people to understand. But there's nothing about this process or these emails that make anything about this process say that we're trying to help you. It's just not happening. So it's not mentioning the first gen one because evidently that never had Wi-Fi. So it's the second gen, the international version, because evidently the non-international version also didn't have Wi-Fi. The Kindle DX International, the Kindle keyboard, that's mine. That's this one here. I guess it was the first one that had the keyboard. The Kindle 4th gen and the Kindle 5th gen. Now, the next question I'm expecting from people is, I don't know what I've got. I know it's older. I don't know what I've got. So I do have you covered here, and they did make this, information available. Let me go back here. So there is, and of course, as always, all the links are in the description. So there is a part of the website that you can go to that will help you identify which version of the Kindle that you have. Now, of course, us people with the older ones, we're going to go way down here, scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So first gen, second gen. Actually, I've never held one of these in my hands. Oh, I'm going to have to check eBay and see if anybody's got one out there. But this is where you start to get into, so it looks like the second generation did have the smaller keyboard on it. This is mine. This is the one that I had. So you can go through here and you can look at your Kindle and compare it to what's on this list, and that will help you figure out which one is yours so that you can figure out what you want to do. But that is the next important thing. Now, the other thing I want to get away right up front, because I know people are very much, too long didn't read. So what does this mean? Okay, so this means that from your device, you won't be able to go to that option I showed you and browse for, content to get. They won't be able to borrow directly from the device. I'm repeating this phrase for a reason. You won't be able to do these things directly from the device, okay? And you won't be able to browse, borrow, or buy directly from the device. Now, anything you have on your device when this happens will stay on your device, okay? So there's some people out there that are like creating all this, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD, my least favorite thing. No, they're not going to reach out. They're not going to wipe your Kindle. They're not going to take back anything that you've purchased. None of that is real, okay? All the stuff that you currently have on the device will stay on the device until you delete it. And it won't obviously impact anything that you have new. So I have two, right? So I do have a slightly newer one. So this one is not impacted at all. Life will continue as normal for this one. So you're all good there. So you'll still be able to read on these. You'll still be able to use them. You'll still be able to access what you've got. Accessing your existing library seems like that will still work. I will test that, and if that's not true, I will come back and let you know. But let's assume for now that the information is correct, and that while you can't purchase, you will still be able to access your library. And the other thing, and this is the big one for me, is yes, you can keep using this. You can use this, your older device, you will still be able to use for reading even newer stuff. It's just the process that you go through to get that content on here will change. So again, people are being, guys, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not thrilled about this, and we'll get into that more in a minute, but you will still be able to use these. So deep breath for everybody, right? And while we're taking that deep breath, let me introduce myself to any of you who don't know me. My name is Kathleen. I'm here as your tech coach. I do this show because technology is my day gig. It's also my hobby. So I stay plugged into this world, and which means that a lot of my friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers come to me when they have a question or when they need help or when they need advice. I know not everybody has somebody like me in their life, so that's why I do this show. You are always welcome to come and hang out and chat and have a good time with us. You can also obviously watch these on replay. And, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, you can go ahead and put those in the comments. I do come back and respond to them. But I just want to let you know that you don't have to be left alone out there. There are people out here like me who are here and ready to help anytime you have a question. You can also go ahead and hit my website, yourtechcoach.com. So if you want to make an appointment, if you want some one-on-one help, you can go ahead and sign up there. So that's why we're here, and that's why we're doing this. Okay, so Floyd is on my side. He's not happy with this either. Yeah. And the thing is, they have done better, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. But the fact that they're really dropping the ball on this one, I'm surprised at, because they've had to deal with Kindle stuff before, and some of this I've covered in previous shows. I have in multiple shows. Some of it was tied to the 3G thing, and then there was the whole thing a few weeks ago about the fact that we can't buy from apps. And so if you missed that, the short version of it is because of a fight between Amazon and the different Play stores. If you're just using the Kindle app on your phone, right? So if you're just reading your Kindle books on your phone, not using your actual Kindle device, or if you're in the Amazon store app on your device, you can't buy books either. That's a whole other topic. I did that. I will try to remember. Where does it go? I think it goes here. I'll try to remember, put that link here. But the link is in the description if you want to go and get caught up on that. The reason I'm really unhappy with them about this is because I know that they've handled it better before, because when the 3G thing hit, they were much more upfront about it. They had much better windows of opportunity for you to do other things, like if you wanted to buy a new Kindle and upgrade. They just handled it better. And the thing that cracks me up is that wasn't their fault. Okay, so when they had to cut off the 2G and the 3G service, that was not a decision made by Amazon. Amazon would have kept using that if that technology remained available. It was the mobile carriers who really, they had to drop it. So they had to drop 2 and 3G in order to make room for the 4G and the 5G. So all Amazon was doing was letting you know that because that service is no longer going to exist in the world, mostly, we can't make use of it, right? Because if there's nothing to connect to, there's nothing for the device to be able to communicate with. So that wasn't their fault, and they were pretty good about getting the word out and addressing it and offering options. Why they couldn't do this for something that is their own decision, I don't understand. I just don't. I don't understand at all why this is being handled the way it is. So let's talk about why this is happening, because you know what? They're not talking about it. They're being very quiet about why they're doing this. It's all definitely in the background someplace. So there are some people out there who are speculating that this has to do with and I'm going to get this wrong and I should have saved it, that it's the TLS, the security protocol that they use in order to make purchases safe and all that kind of stuff. There are people who are speculating that the reason that this is happening is because Amazon can't update the version that's on the older devices, and they want to keep the purchases secure. So that would be coming from a good place, except it's not true, because that is just a certificate. And I'm not going to get, this is my world, so, I could get into this in quite detail, but I'm not going to. All I'm going to say is there are two ways that security is handled. One is software, one is hardware. So sometimes there's an actual piece of your device that handles it and manages software, and sometimes it's just a software thing. This particular thing that they're talking about, the TLS, is not hardware, it is software. So they could put new certificates on the old devices and keep them secure. So this is a choice. This is not like the 3G, 2G thing where they had no choice. This is a choice they are making because they don't want to support the older devices. I'm not really happy about that, because there's no reason not to. Like this device, like I said, I've had this 11 years. I bought this pretty much right after it came out, it became available. I use this every day, have for 11 years. It has probably lost maybe 20 minutes, half an hour off of the battery life in all that time. Not a problem, right? It's still perfectly serviceable. Now, yes, my newer one, from the start has had a longer battery life. Like I can go a couple of weeks with this. The original one, depending on how long I'm reading, a week, maybe, a couple of days short of that. Totally fine. Totally fine. Totally happy with that. So yeah, I'm a little crabby about this. I'm just going to be upfront about it. I am. I'm crabby about it. And you can agree or not, but that's when it's not something you have control over, a little more sympathy, but also impressed by the way that they handled it. This is a choice they're making, and they're not being upfront about it, and they're not handling it well. I'm sorry, but they're just not. So if you want to read what they're putting out there, and I'll be interested to see, because I know that they're starting to get some pushback now that it's getting a little bit more out there in the mainstream. So let me just show you. And again, all the links are in the description. But they do have a page out there that is trying to address what's going on, right? And so it's something to come back and check, because it's, it's a web page. So it's the kind of thing that they could update if they want to. I don't expect the date to change. I think that this is going to be pretty much when things are going to happen. But you can go ahead and, keep an eye on this if you're looking for other information. Okay, so they are saying that there's trade-in options. I don't know whether or not I don't know that you can do a trade-in and use the discount code, but you can go ahead and check that out. But so this page here does have a little bit more information if you want to go and check that out. That's certainly an option. Keep an eye on it is the best I can tell you. So let's talk about what are your options at this point. Option number one is to keep using it. Right, like I said, anything you've got on here is there, and it's going to stay. And supposedly we're going to be able to still access our library. So any device, any content that you already have online, you should be able to go ahead and pull that down. If for some reason that doesn't work, then your other option would be to try to download it and use a cable, plug it into the computer, plug it into your device, and move stuff onto it that way. You can go back and take a look at the show I did about putting PDFs on your device. I didn't put that link in the description, but I will. That just popped in my head. So yeah, it's still perfectly serviceable. Now, as far as getting new content, it's still possible. You could still load your new books and whatever other content you read on your Kindle on here. The difference is you're going to need to go to either, if you have a second Kindle, go ahead and make the purchase here, add it to your library, and then you can, bring it down to the older one, or you can go to the Amazon website. Now, this is important, right? You have to go to the website in a browser, not the app on your phone, right? Or your mobile device, your Amazon store app. It has to be from the Kindle, from the browser, because of the other issues that I talked about earlier. I know it's just getting so complicated, and it shouldn't be. So if you want to add new content, let's just make this very straightforward. If you want to add new content to your old device, right? So what you're going to do is, if you have a newer Kindle, you can go ahead, browse and make the purchase from this, and then it'll be in your library for you to download to your older device. If you don't have a newer Kindle, that's fine. What you can do is just go to the Amazon store in a browser, browse for your books, make your purchases. They'll get added to your library, and then you can download them to your existing device. So you're covered. You're good. You can still... I knew that was coming. I could hear the dog barking outside. My boy had to wake up sooner or later. Murphy, it's okay. I don't know why they're barking, but hopefully everything's okay. So you will still be able to go ahead and keep using the device. You will still be able to go ahead and add new content to the device. So it's not that the device is now useless at all, okay? There's just a slightly more wavy road that you have to go down in order to get the new content on it. Murphy, it's okay. It's okay. Do I need to check? No, it's okay. It's okay. He's with his person. I just heard his person. Okay, so Floyd, let's send this message. I really meant it. There we go. So Floyd says it's good news that you can still use them, but they should have given a longer time for the discount. Thank you. See, I just think that should have been the starting point of the conversation in the office. It's going to be a regular segment for you. Well, what updates, right, are nerfing your Kindle? Unfortunately, I'm starting to think that's the case because there's been an awful lot in a very short amount of time. So, yeah, not super happy with that. But at least it's still usable. At least it's still an option. At least you can still read it. So, again, there's a lot of people that are all this about it. I'm not happy with them about this, but at least, it's not like they're going to brick the device on you. Okay. So we're okay there. So option number 1 is keep using it. Keep using your device. If it's working for you, it's working for you. And don't get upset about it. Just learn the new route in order to get the new content on there and you're good to go. Not super convenient, but certainly doable, because even if you don't have a computer, you can still on your whatever mobile device you've got, go to a browser and shop the Amazon store and get your content that way. Another option, absolutely, is to trade it in and maybe make use of that discount code if you're still in that window, which is not, what is that, 2 weeks away? Yeah, 2 weeks away. So you can trade in. Let's just talk like, so if you're watching this live or you're watching this sometime right after I record it, what's today? It's July 28th, 2022. There is that code that you got in your email that you can go and get the, what did I say, 30% off. And wait. Let me make sure I'm saying the truth here. Yeah, so you get 30% off and a $40 ebook credit. So that's one way to go. If you're watching this after the cutoff date for that, which is August 13th, you can consider trading in your existing Kindle device for a discount on a new one. The link, if you want to go shopping for a new one, is in the description. There's a lot of different options out there. Here, let's go and take a look here. One sec. Okay, we'll go here first and then we'll go back. Okay. So there's many different versions and various price points. I'm not saying that they're cheap or free, but there at least there's some options out there. Some of them are unavailable right now. So yeah, you can pay hundreds of dollars or you can pay like $90. So you do have options. You can go and check those out. Some of them have some fancier features in them than others. But that is certainly a way to go, is to go ahead and just, treat yourself to a new one. If you can get that discount, that's a pretty good deal. Also, the $40 ebook credit, that's pretty good too, because with discounts on ebooks, very often you can buy a lot for $40. So there's that option. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. So either, you're going to keep what you've got and keep using it, or you're going to replace it with a new one. There is another option. It's a little bit more of a technical step for some people. There are third-party e-readers out there. And so you could take, your content, and some of them actually work with the native Amazon format. Some of them you would have to take your content and take it to a tool that would convert it so that it would work with your third party. But like, for example, my much beloved, take this out. My much beloved Remarkable, you can read on it. You can read certain formats on it. So there's stuff like that, but there's also just dedicated e-readers out there that you can go and look at if maybe you don't want to stick with the Kindle stuff anymore, which right now I wouldn't fault you for. So you do have some additional options out there. It's just, I just want to warn you that, going to a third party one does raise the technical level a little bit. I'm happy to explain it if anybody wants me to do that as a show, but those are basically your options. Now, I just wanted to show you a couple of other things for those of you who are not impacted maybe by this, or maybe you're going to buy a new one. Here's a couple of other things to keep an eye on going forward, because this is going to become a thing now. So this particular page that I'm showing you right now, and again, link is in the description, this is listing out all of the e-reader software updates. And in context, this sort of becomes like a bellwether, letting you know what's coming down the road. So I'm going to start from the bottom, right? So the newer devices, it's telling you, okay, for the 6th Gen one, you need to be on this version of the software or higher, and it tells you how to do it. And then as you the one previous to that is on a slightly different version, but still a version 5. And then you start to see the 5th generation Kindle is only on version 4 of the software. Right? And then we go back here and, this one is, on version 2. Well, so these are the ones so from like this version 2.1, this version 3.1 back, you can see that they haven't been getting updated at all. So in hindsight, I should have seen something like this coming, because when you stop updating the device, that's usually an indicator that some decisions have been made. So keep that in mind, maybe keep an eye on this page. It's just a good idea. Same thing here. So this is another page, is a related sort of warning sign kind of thing. So this is the page where they list out the security updates. And this is something that they've changed fairly recently, but we thought everything else was grandfathered in. Ha ha. So they're now telling you that your e-reader device is only going to get updates for a certain amount of time. And they're listing out here when that date is, when that cutoff date is. So you notice here, they're only listing the newer ones, right? And they're all good until 2026. But you'll start to see over time, as they're releasing new Kindle devices, that these dates are not going to get updated for some of these slightly older versions. So that's another sign. It's another thing to keep an eye on to see what's going on. Now, why are they doing this? Because I don't think they expected people to keep the Kindle devices around as long as they did. That's probably part of it, or maybe even the main driving force, because technically there's no reason, right? I mean, these are e-reader devices, and as long as they're not going to lose their frickin' minds and start trying to do coloring stuff, which they should not do, that's a separate conversation. These are supposed to be books, okay? That's all they're supposed to be. Do I have a book in here? I probably don't. Okay, when you buy a book or go to the library and get a book, you're not expecting the pages to suddenly start dancing. So I don't buy that as a reason. I also don't buy that, because it's not a touch device, because not everybody wants a touch device, can use a touch device, needs a touch device, right? One of the things that worked really well for this style was these buttons on the side and on this side, because it makes it easier, in my opinion, it makes it easier to change the pages. It's more intuitive to change the pages. You just click the other one to go back, click. Very simple. Your thumb is right there, so you're not having to reach across the screen. For a lot of reasons, the touch device is not the ultimate. If you like the touch device, that's great. What I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So, for example, when my dad started to have trouble with his hands, he was a voracious reader, just as much as I am. So having to do all the touch and the swipe and all that became harder for him. And it made it a little bit more of a struggle to read. Now, he still did it until I was able to get him one of the other devices. There's a couple of new ones that have the touch button on it. But I actually wrote to Amazon about it, because I'm like, this is not cool. Not everybody can work with the touch screens as easily, and it's not as intuitive. And what are you doing? There's no reason why you can't also have the physical button. People don't want to use it, don't have to use it, but it should be there. And that's not why they added it, trust me. But, I do speak up for this kind of stuff. So, all the reasons that I'm reading and seeing, and can think of on my own on why they might do this, all smell bad to me. They just do. But that's where we're at. So if you have an older generation device, the list is in the description here, then it's not if, but when. And that's when is August 17th, 2022. You're not going to be able to buy directly from your device anymore. You're not going to be able to browse from your device. You're not going to be able to browse the e-store. The weak browser that's on there, if you want to use it for browsing the internet, that'll still be there. And you can't borrow books directly from the device. What you're going to have to do is go to your web browser and do all that stuff there, get it into your library, and then come back to your device and pull it down from your library. And like I said, on August 18th, I will verify that all that works, and you will hear from me if it doesn't. But that is the whole thing in a nutshell for you right now, and that is where we were at. Hey Tyler, yeah, we're back on we're back on Amazon and the Kindle. This was not planned, but this all bubbled up last week, and it was like, I have to go talk about it. We've been talking about all the Kindle stuff. We have to go ahead and follow up on it. Yeah, Floyd, I think that's where this is. I think that's exactly what's happening, is bad decisions made for bad reasons. But I guess, if you're looking for small wins here, the devices will still work. And so for me, that's the important thing, because I don't particularly feel the need to go buy another one right now. Really, the only, I actually, so I like I said, 11 years every day. mostly. So I hurt my back a little while ago, and I was on the sofa in the living room for almost 3 months and could not get upstairs, which is where I keep this. I keep this upstairs. So that's why I bought this one, because I was going bonkers being trapped on the sofa. And forget TV. I mean, thank goodness for streaming TV, but still, I need something to read. And I was reading to a certain amount on my phone, but it's just not as comfortable. And the screen is not designed for it. You get glare and all that. So that's why I bought the new one. It was just because I needed something when I couldn't go and get my other one. Otherwise, I would not have to, because I was perfectly, and I still am perfectly content with my original purchase. So there we go. Let me just make sure I covered everything. I think I did. Like I said, all of the links are in the description, and I will add the other one about adding PDFs. But if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you need some help with this, you can go ahead and reach out, yourtechcoach.com. I'm happy to do that. Also, in the comments, go right ahead. I do come back and check those. But that's where we're at. That's the whole nutshell here. So not only, it's related, but it's not really the purpose of the show, but not only can you no longer buy from the Amazon app on your mobile devices or your Kindle app on your devices, now in a couple of weeks, you're not going to be able to do it from your older devices as well, but you'll still be able to do everything else. So you can still use it. It's still a viable device. So keep reading. Reading is important. But that is what I have for you. So I hope everybody is doing well. I hope the heat is not too bad where you're at, and that you're going to have a great weekend. As I mentioned, I am here every Thursday. Well, I don't think I mentioned this. So I do the show every week. I always bring a different topic, but you're welcome to come and hang out in the chat or in the comments and let us know, what's going on. If you have any questions, if you need any help, feel free to reach out. But I'm here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I hope that next time maybe you'll be able to join us live. Floyd, don't wish that on us. Don't wish that on us. I mean, it's probably true, but don't wish it on us. Whoops. I was not expecting to be having this conversation, but like I said at the beginning, here we are. So, we do what we have to do. And, we'll keep doing what we're doing and keep reading. Reading is important. By the way, just as an aside, one thing that I'm a little fuzzy on, and I'm going to check with my local library, but I have a sneaking suspicion that none of this will impact getting Kindle-friendly content from your library. Did you know that you can do that? Because I hope everybody knows that you can do that. Most libraries, I won't say all, but most libraries at this point in time are set up to provide digital copies of many, many books. So just keep that in mind, that's another option. You don't have to go spending money in the Amazon e-store or there's online resources. Just be careful with the online resources, but there are safe, viable online resources where you can get free or very, very reasonable books. And these tend to be things that are in the public domain and all that. But, if you're like me and you like reading that kind of stuff, that's another resource. So keep in mind that no matter what, there's always been other options out there for you to go ahead and get your content. So keep that in mind too. Oops. Okay. For some reason that's not. Oh, here we go. Is it just being slow? Okay. So yeah. So Floyd has evidently made use of that. My father was like, when he realized he could do that, that was everything. So yeah. So Floyd's local library is doing that too. So yep. It's another great way to keep filling your brain with information, having good stuff to read, and you can do it from your device. So for me, that's a big win too. All right, everybody, have a good weekend. Go keep reading. Make your decision about your Kindle. If you have any questions, the links are in the description and you can always reach out. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a good one. Bye. Yes, absolutely. Support your library so you can get access to cool stuff. 100%.